Shangilia Yesu jemedari.
Yesu jemedari.
Oh,
Yesu jemedari. Yesu jemedari.
Shangilia Yesu jemedari kweli.
Yesu jemedari. Yesu jemedari. Yesu jemedari.
Shangilia Yesu dakitari.
Yesu dakitari. Yesu dakitari. Yesu dakitari.
Shangilia Yesu dakitari kweli.
Yesu dakitari. Yesu dakitari.
Haya, cheza cheza kama mtu ana furaha sasa. Twende. Wapi shangwe na vigelegele kwa Kenya? Hii Kenya ni yetu sisi wote. Chezea Mungu, chezea Mungu, chezea Mungu. Twende. 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 Shangwe ya Kenya, shangwe ya Kenya, shangwe ya Kenya. Cheza 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 cheza. Twende. Wapi vigelegele, wapi vigelegele. Twende. 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 Toleka. Aha. Wapi vigelegele? Ehe. Twende. 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 Katika. 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 Ehe. Oh, shangilia Yesu anaweza. Shangilia Yesu kiongozi. Shangilia Yesu kiongozi. Oh, Yesu kiongozi. Shangilia Yesu kiongozi. Oh, Yesu kiongozi. Shangilia Yesu atupenda. Shangilia Yesu atupenda kweli. Shangilia Yesu anaweza. Shangilia Yesu anaweza kweli. Cheza 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 cheza. Wapi shangwe kwa Kenya? Wapi shangwe? Oh, shangilia Yesu anaweza. Shangilia Yesu anaweza kweli. Yesu anaweza. Wapi shangwe na vigelegele kwa Kenya? Thank you, thank you.
All right, coming to your screen. Right, coming to your screen are the live images from the Bomas of Kenya. That's a motorcade. We'll be describing who it is in a few minutes. And of course, you can see that it's part of the dignitaries that are expected to arrive at the Bomas of Kenya. Of course, the IEBC has been waiting the arrival of the other two presidential candidates, Deputy President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, who is the candidate for Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition political party. And this could be one of those two. Let's just wait and see from the images, from the manner of the escort that has been...
Ukimwona member of parliament wa Kapseret
Oscar Sudi
na Hussein tayari unajua kwamba huyo ni naibu rais William Ruto.
Indeed.
Mgombea ama si mgombea tena kwa hivi sasa, tuweza kujua baada ya muda.
Tutajua tu bado ni mgombea urais kwa sababu yeye bado ni candidate. Ngojee tusikie matokeo yatakuwa namna gani.
Naam, ni ukweli kwamba huo ni msafara wa viongozi ambao wanaandamana na mgombea urais kwa tiketi ya UDA ambaye ni naibu wa rais Daktari William Samoei Ruto akiwa anaelekea katika ukumbi wa Bomas, ikiwa ni siku muhimu sana. Nafikiri kwamba joo ambalo amelivaa hapa licha ya kwamba ni naibu wa rais, lakini katika matarajio yake ni kwamba wanaomba sana kwamba ataweza kuvishwa joo lenginelo. Hivyo basi ni baadhi ya wale waniaji wa urais wawili ambao walikuwa wanatarajiwa wafike hapa, ikiwa ni yeye ambaye amefika sasa hivi, na itakuwa pia vile tunasubiri zamu ya mwaniaji urais kwa tiketi ya Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, aliyekuwa waziri mkuu Raila Odinga, ambaye pia ametafuta kuvaa ili joo kwa safari 5, ikiwa ni safari yake ya 5. Pia naye atakuwa ana ndoto ya kwamba huenda akavikwa ili joo, lakini vikaji wa hili joo ni Mkenya na dhamana hiyo amemwachia mwenyekiti Wafula Chebukati. Ni msafara huo ambao kwa kweli ndio ushafika katika maeneo ya Bomas. Nafikiri kwamba kwa wengi ni kwamba watakuwa wanajaribu kudadisi, je, msafara huu ndio wao ulivyo ama msafara huu wa vipi? Ni mengi ambayo yanazungumzwa katika mitandao ya kijamii kwa hivi sasa. Rashid, je, kuna tofauti yoyote, kuna nini? Kwa sababu ni mengi ambayo yanapozungumzwa na wachanganuzi wa Kenya, naposikia pia wataka kuangalia, je, kuna tofauti gani? Lakini ukweli wa mambo utaujua kupitia kinywa chake Bwana Wafula Chebukati.
And Rashid, for a moment I thought you were speaking up your mind. But whatever happens, for sure, these are the final days that you'll see the deputy president as deputy president, because whether he is elected president or not elected, transition period is coming, and things will have to change. There have to be a new deputy president in this country, whichever it goes. Lulu.
Naam, so Dr. mtazamaji, kama unavyoona tayari ameweza kuandamana na familia yake Bi Rachel Ruto na pia governor elect wa Nairobi ambaye ni Arthur Johnson Sakaja. Kwa hivi sasa wanaelekea katika ukumbi wa Bomas, ikiwa hivi sasa ni saa 9 na dakika 1, mtazamaji. Tuliarifiwa kwamba matangazo ya kumtangaza rais wa 5 wa taifa la Kenya itakuwa hapo mwendo wa saa 9, ikiwa hivi sasa bado tukiwa tunamsubiri mwaniaji rais kwa Azimio la Umoja wa Kenya, Bwana Raila Amolo Odinga.
Na manake Sam, kiangalia kwamba naibu wa rais William Samoei sasa hivi ikiwa ni saa 9 dakika 1 saa zetu za Afrika Mashariki, na pia hivyo basi ni kwamba tunatarajia muda wote kutoka sasa kupata msubiriwa sana na taifa zima. Hivyo basi kuanzia sasa hivi ama pengine muda wote kuanzia sasa tutapata taarifa kamili, alafu baadaye yatakayojiri baadaye itakuwa tunayazungumza na wachanganuzi wetu studio. Alafu
tutakuwa tumemaliza ule mzizi wa fitina wa mitandao wa rangi tofauti tofauti, kila mmoja akisema ndiyo mshindi.
Speculation.
Wajua ni siku ambayo kwa kweli Lulu, kuanzia mavazi ya kiongozi, tabasamu lake, mienendo yake yanachambuliwa. Imekuwa pia sasa hivi kina Java sio wachambuzi wazuri kama wa Kenya kule nyumbani. Wanakaa Kenya wanachambua kila kitu, kuanzia muonekano wa mtu, kila kitu, lakini wana kila sababu, kwa sababu ya ule uwazi ambao umeletwa kwa jinsi ya matokeo yalikuwa yanapeperushwa moja kwa moja. Hivyo basi wana imani kwamba ni kama wana mwelekeo wa kuhesabu na kuweza kujua ningependa huyu awe, yule awe. Nafikiri hao ndio anachangia sana kwamba watu wametulia kwa makini wakisubiri muda ule muhimu sana.
Na pia ni vizuri kama tumeona kwamba kiongozi huo Bwana William Samoei Ruto pia ameweza kuandamana na baadhi ya viongozi ambao waliweza kubwagwa katika uchaguzi huu uliopita. Kwa mfano tu tumeweza kumwona Bi Aisha Jumwa kutoka kaunti ya Kilifi, na pia vile katika ukumbi huo niliweza kumwona Nixon Korir kutoka Lang'ata.
Na ni wengi tumeona Naomi Shaban ambaye pia kupata kiti kule katika Taita Taveta. Tumeweza kuona kina ambaye ni gavana Nderitu Muridhi pia vile miongoni mwa wale ambao wako pale. Nafikiri kwamba kila mrengo na viongozi wake wamekuja, maana yake ni swala la kwamba sote kwa pamoja tukapate matokeo. Nafikiri haitasaza aliyeteuliwa hakuteuliwa, hata wale wengine ambao walikuwa katika nyadhifa tofauti katika mirengo ya kisiasa ambao hawakuwania viti moja kwa moja, pia nao wako hapa kwa pamoja kusubiri na kutarajia na kuomba kwamba iende vile ambavyo wanataka wao.
And on your screen you'll see that the podium there is ready. We're still waiting for the arrival of Chairman Wafula Chebukati and his commissioners. You can see the days is set. Perhaps waiting for the arrival of the final presidential candidate Raila Odinga, because even as DP William Ruto came into the Bomas auditorium, at the Bomas presence, you see that he went straight to the holding room before he can be ushered into the auditorium. But it appears that some level of activity has reduced inside the auditorium. It appears like the participants there, the attendants, are just waiting. They're no longer dancing. They're no longer singing.
Naona watu wamekongamana maeneo tofauti, japo hatujaonyesha kwa hivi sasa, lakini wengi wamekongamana maeneo ya Kisumu, maeneo ya Eldoret, maeneo ya Mombasa, wengi wakisubiri kwa hamu na hamu kuweza kupata kujua nani ni rais wa 5. Lakini barabara za Nairobi kidogo watu wameweza kupotea, na hisi kwamba wanatizama kile ambacho kinachoendelea kwa hivi sasa.
Na nafikiri ukiangalia pia jinsi ambavyo wananchi wamejitokeza katika miji tofauti, ni miji ambayo labda inajulikana kwamba imekuwa ngome fulani za wanasiasa ama hii miungano. Hivyo basi kila ngome ya mwanasiasa ama ngome ya muungano fulani, watu wameweza kujitokeza kwa wingi wakisherekea, matarajio ikiwa ni kwamba hivyo ndio itakavyokuwa. Katika jiji la Nairobi, ukiangalia katikati mwa mji wa Nairobi kuna msongamano wa magari hivi sasa, labda pengine watu wakitaka kuweza kutoka na kuelekea majumbani ili kushuhudia hii historia inayokuja. Kwa hiyo kile ambacho kinaonekana nje ya kaunti ya Nairobi ni wafuasi wa vyama katika ngome zao wakishabikia na kuonesha ile imani kwamba ule ushindi unawaelekea wao. Nafikiri ni swala ambalo tumeweza kulizungumza kwamba na sherehe zitakazokuwa zinaendelea, pia wananchi waangalie jinsi ambao viongozi wameweka tofauti zao ndani ya ukumbi wa Bomas na wakacheka pamoja, wakaweza kutabasamu pamoja, wakapeana pambaja. Hivyo basi kama uko nyumbani unasherekea, lakini jua wazi kwamba kama bahati haitokuwa yako siku hii ya leo, basi pia wewe una fursa ya kumpa mwingine pambaja na kuweza kwenda nyumbani kwa amani ukisubiri wakati mwingine. Maana katika semi ambazo ashakumsema tu zinapendwa katika uongozi, unaambiwa kama haukuwa mume wa leo utakuwa mume wa kesho, kumaanisha kama sio leo bahati yako, kesho itakuwa bahati yako.
And it's very interesting to see that different citizens have congregated at different towns, whether it's in Eldoret, whether it's in Mombasa. Some have congregated alongside their political leaders. For instance, in Mombasa, you'll see one of them. They have one of the governorship candidates there. And it's interesting. Hassan Omar, yes. And it's interesting to see the kind of attention that such an event has attracted. Many people would have wanted to be at the Bomas of Kenya, but of course, for practical purposes, it's not realistic. And so they have to follow these proceedings from a TV or maybe radio or even online, so at least they have a feel of what's going on from the Bomas of Kenya. So the sort of attention is pretty high. If you to also consider even the international community has been following the processes in Kenya, some of them praising the process that you're actually able to verify the exactness of the votes from the polling station. So it's a moment for Kenyans to reflect, even if their preference is not what will be declared by Wafula Chebukati in the coming minutes.
Kwani mwisho wa kwisha, Rashid, kuna maisha baada ya uchaguzi?
Kuna maisha baada ya uchaguzi na lazima tuzungumzie safari ya pili. Wajua safari ya uchaguzi ni ya kwanza, ya pili ni ya ujenzi sasa wa taifa na kuweza kutimisha sasa zile ndoto za Mkenya, kwa sababu ukiangalia hakuna manifesto ambayo ilikuwa mbaya kwa waniaji wengi wa vyama tofauti hapa nchini Kenya. Kwa hiyo ndoto ama kile ambacho kwa kimebakia ni kwamba viongozi wanapokutia manifesto bora, manifesto za kuleta maisha bora, manifesto za kumwezesha mwananchi, kuwezesha uchumi, kuimarisha biashara, kuboresha miundo msingi na pia vile vile kuweza kubadilisha fikra ya Mkenya kwamba lazima afanyiwe. Maanake mambo mengi yalikuwa yanazungumziwa katika manifesto ni kumfanya Mkenya kwamba ajue kuna wakati mwingine ana jukumu la kujituma yeye mwenyewe kwanza kabla kuweza kusubiri kiongozi aweze kuwajibika na kuweza kumbadilishia kila kitu. Kwa hiyo nafikiri iwe itakavyokuwa, mirengo tofauti, vyama tofauti, manifesto zilikuwa nzuri. Lakini kama unavyojua miaka nenda miaka rudi tusema manifesto wa nzuri kama kitega tu cha zile kura, lakini baadaye mkishatoa kura manifesto zinawekwa pembeni. Lakini kuna viongozi wengi walisema kwamba safari hii tutawaonesha kwamba tunafanya kama tulivyoahidi katika manifesto zetu.
And it will be a big responsibility on Kenyans to really ensure that. I mean, time must come to an end. When people say, I don't care about politics, I don't care who is elected, fine, you may not be as passionate, but I think every Kenyan has that responsibility to play their role to ensure that the leaders that you put in office, whether yours won or didn't, you have a responsibility to really follow what they are doing, to be active as a citizen, because we gave ourselves a constitution not many years ago, and I wish Bobby could speak to this, and we agreed that we would subject ourselves to public participation. So indeed, public participation, you must have to look also for that space that you can speak and ensure that the things that you want done are actually done by the leaders that you have elected, because that's the responsibility they carry.
True. And I mean, we're just getting off one of the most critical parts of public participation, and that's choosing our leaders. So we've done that, and now our work continues in holding them accountable, and accountable as per the promises they made. We know that promises are, it's a Cuomo, the former New York governor, who said that during campaign, promises are given in poetry, but once the leader is elected and takes the reins of power, he or she does, rule in prose. So now the poetry is over. Now the real work starts, and there are coalitions, and we can hold them accountable. And as you said, public participation is one of the national values and the principles of governance. And so it is expected that after this very critical event, because we have to remember that elections are an event, our work does not end here as citizens of Kenya. We must continue, pushing and prodding, cooperating also in a very, very, very constructive way, so that at the end of the day, whoever becomes the president of this country becomes the president of all Kenyans, regardless of whether you voted for him or not. And I think and hope that whoever is pronounced as a winner by Chairperson Wafula Chebukati, that will be the first message that, now I become the chief servant, actually, of all Kenyans, and will be ready to be held accountable from the day he is sworn in for the next 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm advised that we need to cross back to the Bomas of Kenya to have a feel of the mood there, because I'm sure Kenyans want to follow and listen to what's going on there, so that as we await the arrival of the chairman of the IEBC Commission, as well as the two presidential candidates, the final ones getting into the auditorium, let's listen to the proceedings there.
Prosperity of our citizens, democracy shall take a lead. For prosperity of our citizens, democracy shall take a lead. We must embrace democracy and the rule of law. We must embrace democracy and the rule of law. Africa, oh our motherland. Africa, oh our motherland. For prosperity, peace and unity, democracy shall take a lead. For prosperity, peace and unity, democracy shall take a lead. We must embrace democracy and the rule of law. We must embrace democracy and the rule of law. Wana Kenya wote tudumishe amani Kenya. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Wana Kenya wote tudumishe amani Kenya. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Ndugu zetu wa Kenya, tutoe shukrani kwa Mungu. Kwa nchi yetu Kenya, nchi ya urithi wetu. Wana Kenya wote tudumishe amani Kenya. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Wana Kenya wote tudumishe amani Kenya. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Tushikane mikono pamoja. tushikane mikono pamoja sote wa Mungu. Tujenge Kenya moja, nchi ya urithi wetu. Wana Kenya wote tudumishe amani Kenya. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Wana Kenya wote tudumishe amani Kenya. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Kwani hadi bara kusini na magharibi, tukeishi kwa amani aliyotuachia Mungu. Kwani hadi bara kusini na magharibi, tuishi kwa amani aliyotuachia Mungu. Wana Kenya wote tudumishe amani Kenya. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Wana Kenya wote tudumishe amani Kenya. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza kupendana. Neno lake Mungu latuhimiza nchini Kenya. Kazi za kina mama zapendeza, heko kina mama. Juhudi zenu za amani kwa wote, nipongezi, heko kina mama. Nchini Kenya kazi za kina mama zapendeza, heko kina mama. Juhudi zenu za amani kwa wote, nipongezi, heko kina mama. Kina mama, juhudi zenu za kulijenga, juhudi zenu za kulinua. Kina mama hoye, Kenya yetu hoye. Kina mama, juhudi zenu za kulijenga, juhudi zenu za kulinua. Kina mama hoye, Kenya yetu hoye. Siwadhulumu kina wamaanisha, majukumu yao sio kidogo. Siwadharau kina mama ndugu, kina mama nguzo ya jamii Kenya. Siwadhulumu kina wamaanisha, majukumu yao sio kidogo. Siwadharau kina mama ndugu, kina mama nguzo ya jamii Kenya. Kina mama, juhudi zenu taifa kulijenga, juhudi zenu taifa kulinua. Kina mama hoye, Kenya yetu hoye. Kina mama, juhudi zenu taifa kulijenga, juhudi zenu taifa kulinua. Kina mama hoye, Kenya yetu hoye. Ajing'arisha Kenya yetu mama. Kina mama mwanga wa taifa, juhudi zenu za amani kwa wote. Kenya hoye, miaka na mikaka. Ajing'arisha Kenya yetu mama. Kina taifa, juhudi zenu za amani kwa wote. Kenya hoye, miaka na mikaka, kina mama juhudi zenu, taifa kulijenga, juhudi zenu, taifa kuliinua, kina mama.
All right, now it's that afternoon that we're expecting that Wafula Chebukati would be announcing the final outcome of the presidential election. The invitation read that the time would be 3 p.m. It's now 24 minutes after that hour. We're still waiting. The Bomas of Kenya has become a place where you hear some music, then it goes quiet, then you hear the music, goes quiet, then you hear us. Rashid.
Na labda pengine kitu ambacho Sam pia kitazungumziwa ni kwamba tulikuwa tumeambiwa kwamba saa 9 japo haijafika mpaka saa 10, lakini sijui kama waliopo tukianza na wakili Steve tutaweza kuzungumza kwamba je, kuna chochote kinaweza fanyika pale sasa hivi ama lazima tusubiri paka wagombea wote wafike ndio tupate cha kuendelea? Maoni yako.
Allow me to respond in English. Well, thank you, Rashid. The announcement must go on with or without all presidential candidates. Of course, they have been invited and we expect them to honor. I haven't seen the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga making his way to Bomas yet. It's not fatal. Whether he makes it or not, it's not fatal. The announcement can be made. The law requires the returning officer, the national returning officer, in this case, Wafula Chebukati, to hand over the certificate to the person so declared as the winner. I do not wish to speculate about the outcome of this, because then to negate from now, if he does not make his way there for one reason or another, and he happens to be the one declared the winner, we could regularize. The chief agent could pick the certificate on his behalf, because again, the law must be interpreted in a manner that is purposive, a manner that is facilitative. You cannot fail to call the election because the winning candidate, for instance, is not there. No, that would be a very narrow way to interpreting the law. So it's also a good thing. In terms of political communication, we would expect that all candidates be there. This has been a closely contested election. It would warm the hearts of Kenyans, just like you've seen supporters from either sides, elected parliamentarians from either side in the auditorium. Regardless of who wins this election, it would have been better to see the Right Honorable Prime Minister right in the auditorium, just like the DP has also made his way there. But again, we have to wait and see.
Javas.
Well, it's very exciting, a day for all Kenyans, regardless of how the levels of anxiety are at the crest. And I would want to look at this through the comparative lenses of history. And he was facing off with Raila Odinga. His appearance was not there. 2017, when the declaration of the winner was made, but it would be a bit curious why he has not arrived yet when the invitation clearly read 3 p.m.
Okay. And Javas, now it's the time. Now the music is back at the auditorium, so we head back there. When there's silence, we come back here, right?
All right.
Okay.
azidi kuilinda Kenya. Twajua kwamba ulinzi wetu watoka kwake Mola Mungu, na tumuombe Mungu Mwenyezi azidi kuilinda Kenya. Twajua kwamba ulinzi wetu watoka kwake Mola Mungu, na tumuombe Mungu Mwenyezi, na tumuombe Mungu Mwenyezi azidi kuilinda Kenya. Twajua kwamba ulinzi wetu watoka kwake Mola Mungu, na tumuombe Mungu Mwenyezi, na tumuombe Mungu Mwenyezi azidi kuilinda Kenya. Mungu ibariki nchi yetu pamoja na watu wetu. Mungu wabariki watu wako, amani idumu Kenya. Mungu ibariki nchi yetu pamoja na watu wetu. Mungu wabariki watu wako, amani idumu Kenya. Popote tulipo Kenya, Mungu wabariki watu wako, ushushe baraka zako. Mungu wabariki nchi yetu, amani idumu Kenya. Umoja uzidi Kenya. Mungu wabariki watu wako, upendo uongezeke. Mungu wabariki nchi yetu, amani idumu Kenya. Mungu ibariki nchi yetu pamoja na watu wetu. Mungu wabariki watu wako, amani idumu Kenya. Mungu ibariki nchi yetu pamoja na watu wetu. Mungu wabariki watu wako, amani idumu Kenya. Mungu ibariki nchi yetu pamoja na watu wetu. Mungu wabariki watu wako, amani idumu Kenya.
Na mtazamaji, tunaendelea kufuatilia kwa karibu kabisa shughuli muhimu sana ya kitaifa katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, ambapo atakayeteuliwa sasa hivi kuweza kuwa rais mteule baada ya kupata kura nyingi kutokana na zile kura takriban milioni 14 ambazo Wakenya walipiga, atakuwa ndiye rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya atakayetarajiwa kuweza kuliongoza ili taifa bila kuweka mipaka ya maeneo, mipaka ya kijinsia, mipaka ya kidini, mipaka ya kikabila na mipaka ya kivyama. Lakini pengine kwa dakika moja kabla turudi, nafikiri kwamba tuweza katizwa, maana shughuli leo ni muhimu, inaelekea kule. Javas, kwa swali nitakuwa swali moja. Ikiwa tulisajili wapiga kura zaidi ya milioni 22 ama milioni 22, lakini waliojitokeza kupiga kura ni milioni 14, inasemaje kuhusu sisi kama Wakenya?
Kwanza kumbuka kwamba hapa Kenya tuko na demokrasia shirikishi. Lakini ule upungufu wa wananchi kujitokeza, wale ambao walikuwa wamejisajili katika kipindi hiki cha kupiga kura, kumeweza kuonyesha kuwa labda kuna ile disconnect, the disdain that the voters have either towards the politics of Kenya or the disdain towards the candidates in this election. Because there's one clear realization that most politicians in Kenya haven't kept word in implementation of the social contract with the people. Today, there is nearly no government since independence that made or developed a manifesto and implemented even 50% in an election cycle. So hiyo ndio ambayo inaleta ule uvivu ama kutokuwepo na imani katika viongozi wa kisiasa.
Unaweza sema kwamba wapiga kura labda wanapitisha ujumbe kwamba wamechoshwa na uongozi uliopo?
Wamechoshwa na pia uvivu unazidi kukolea. Ndio.
Umechoshwa na huyu mazidi kukolea. Namuona ukisema hivyo Bobby Mkangi alikuwa anakutizama kwa sijui kama unakubaliana na Shavas.
Nakubaliana naye kwamba ubeuzi unatokana na historia na changamoto na haswa za hali ya maisha ya kila siku, manake siasa, shughuli za dola, hata kuwa na katiba. Unajua watu huwa wanadhani pengine katiba tu ni za wanasiasa na nani atachukua wadhifa upi, lakini yote 9-10 ni kwamba Wakenya walijipatia katiba mpya mwaka 2010 ili maisha yao yaweze kuboreshwa. Lakini ukiangalia hali ya maisha tangu wakati huo kufikia sasa, unakuta kwamba kuna changamoto, gharama ya maisha imeongezeka. Kwa hivyo wengi wanazidi kukata tamaa na ndiposa wanakosa tumaini na mfumo wote wa kisiasa na uchaguzi.
Na Steve, nitakuwa swali tofauti. Kila eneo kuna sherehe zinaendelea, wale wa upande wa Kenya Kwanza na wale wa upande wa Azimio wanaendelea. Yote atakayeingia madarakani lazima atahitaji wale wengine ambao labda wakupata ushindi. Unadhani tunahitaji kufanya nini kulifanya taifa lizungumze kwa sauti moja baada ya kumaliza uchaguzi, na tukijua tulikuwa na tofauti ya kisiasa na kivyama?
I think there's going to be another handshake of sorts between the winner and the loser. Kenya has shown some remarkable resilience coming out of the 2017 presidential election that was nullified, and the fresh election that was ordered, which was snubbed by the NASA wing of the coalition, NASA wing of the political establishment. We saw that as soon as the swearing in was completed and President Uhuru Kenyatta settled, despite the disruption that followed the parallel swearing in on 30th of January 2018, on 9th of March 2018, there was a handshake between His Excellency the President and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. We can expect the political elite to close ranks. What I think we need to do now is to urge all the supporters to understand that political competition ends at the ballot. And once the president has been declared as elected, there is a constitutional pathway to dispute resolution. If you look at Article 140, for instance, it provides that if you are dissatisfied with the outcome of an election, you may approach the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court shall then pronounce itself definitively within 14 days after it has been invited to review the conduct of the election, and the outcome of that Supreme Court judgment shall be final. So even in the longest time frame, you have 7 days to file a petition if you so wanted. The Supreme Court has 14 days to determine it, and then the swearing in will happen within 7 days after the Supreme Court has made a determination. So if you do a computation of 7 plus 14 plus 7, you're looking at just under 1 month. We should have settled. And so I want to urge Kenyans to understand that our political competition must not be confused with animosity among Kenyans and so on and so forth. We just have to accept the bindingness of electoral outcomes. And if you do not accept the bindingness of electoral outcomes, there is already a predictable pathway to challenge the same. What we cannot accept is this. We cannot accept our political leaders or the citizens doubting the finality of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court if there's going to be a decision. We would be said, the rule of law is crucial but fragile. In the hierarchical order of constitutional interpretation, yes, Rashid, you and I can say the election, in our opinion, was not managed in accordance with the Constitution. Then the law permits us to organize that grievance, take it to the final, neutral, impartial arbiter, that is the Supreme Court. In terms of the interpretation of the Constitution, if the Supreme Court makes a determination, as they will definitely, if invited, we are not allowed in law to question that judgment. We may debate it, criticize it, but we cannot question the bindingness or a determination by the Supreme Court. Kenyans need to know this, but otherwise at this stage, in terms of thinking sequentially, let the results be announced, let us capture the reaction of the political leaders, Let us capture the reaction of the citizenry. At least for the citizenry and the political leaders, we've said, accept the declaration as announced today by Mr. Chebukati. If you have a doubt, we proceed to court, but let us accept the bindingness of Supreme Court opinion if we'll ever get there.
All right. Of course, these are the possibilities that are guided by the supreme law in the country, that is the Constitution of Kenya. And we'll wait to see, because the efforts towards the Supreme Court do not begin up until Wafula Chebukati speaks. I would have used another phrase, but I don't want to. You all know it. So we still continue to wait. It's now 22 minutes to 4 p.m. Rashid. 3 p.m. becomes 4 p.m. I don't know. But then again, Wafula Chebukati promised the country he would do it during the day.
Lakini nafikiri kweli alisema saa 9, lakini kitu ambacho labda pengine kitakuwa kinachangiwa na kile ambacho Steve na Bob amesema, nafikiri pia ingependeza zaidi kama angetangaza matokeo wakati wote wapo, kwa sababu ule mshikamano umekuwa mkiuzungumza na safari ya umoja na ujenzi wa taifa itaanzia vizuri kama tutakuwa wawaniaji wote wa rais wapo, matokeo yatolewe, atakayeridhika wameridhika, na ambaye hatakuwa hajaridhika kama alivyosema Steve, kwa utaratibu tuangalie katiba inasemaje, kifungu cha 140 na aende moja kwa moja kuweza kukifanyia kazi. Itakuwa jambo la busara zaidi tukiwa pamoja, manake ni matokeo ambayo yanahitaji umoja wetu ili kufanikisha ndoto ya taifa letu. Javas.
Well, kweli kabisa, lakini unajua kwamba mtu akiingia katika siasa huwa na nia moja ya kupata ushindi, haswa katika kinyang'anyiro cha urais. Na hapa tunaona kwamba pale mtu anaweza kuwa anahisi pengine hata kuwa mshindi, huenda akaanza kulimbikiza lawama kwenye tume ya uchaguzi na mipaka IEBC, ama kutoa tuhuma na lawama kwa wale wengine ambao walikuwa pengine watu ambao ni wadadisi katika mrengo huo, ama katika kipindi hicho, ama katika chama hicho. Lakini unajua kwamba lawama sio dawa ya kosa. Na ingekuwa vizuri kwamba kabla hata baada ya tangazo rasmi la nani ambaye ameibuka mshindi katika kinyang'anyiro hiki, watu waweze kutambua kwamba ni msingi wa demokrasia tunazidi kujenga. Because after all, the placards are now down, the music no longer sings, poems are no longer recited about praises. The campaign period is over. And with this day here happening this moment, in this election cycle, the entire issue of elections in Kenya has turned the full circle. But the most important thing is that the leaders and the led should now rise to the greater calling of nationhood. It is worrying that, for instance, yesterday on social media, we heard and we saw and we read certain political leaders using some kind of language, making some kind of calls that are not necessary. With the benefit of learning from the history that is ours, I would say that censure me in your wisdom, but let us rise to the yearnings of nationhood, brotherhood, and singleness of purpose, that democracy and its tenets should not make us look at things differently or set us apart, but we should come together to build a strong fabric of the country.
And Javas, you appear to be the one who ushers into the music. Let's get back to Bomas.
Shangaza majini ya moto kweli ni ajabu, ziwa la Bogoria kweli la shangaza majini ya moto kweli ni ajabu. Nitailinda maisha inaunganisha Kenya na Uganda, Kenya na Tanzania. Nitaitukuza, nitailinda, maisha ni nitaitukuza, nitailinda, maisha ni mwangu. Mlima wa Kenya ni mlima wangu, waona barafu hata jua liwake. Mlima wa Kenya ni mlima wangu, waona barafu hata jua liwake. Nitaitukuza, nitailinda, maisha ni mwangu. Fika Mombasa, wito wa bahari, ogelea maji, jua tamu kuota. Fika Mombasa, wito wa bahari, ogelea maji, jua tamu kuota. Nitailinda, maisha ni na wananchi wote ni sawa tu, wapenda ugali na sukuma wiki. Na wananchi wote ni sawa tu, wapenda ugali na sukuma wiki. Nitailinda, maisha ni tazama porini, simba anguruma, kifaru yu pale na ndege wa anga. Tazama porini, simba anguruma, kifaru yu pale na ndege wa anga. Nitailinda, maisha ni ziwa la Bogoria kweli la shangaza, majini ya moto kweli ni ajabu. Ziwa la Bogoria kweli la shangaza, majini ya moto kweli ni ajabu. Nitaitukuza, nitailinda, maisha ni ziwa la Victoria inaunganisha Kenya na Uganda, Kenya na Tanzania. Ziwa la Victoria inaunganisha Kenya na Uganda, Kenya na Tanzania. Nitaitukuza, nitailinda, maisha ni mlima wa Kenya ni mlima wangu, waona Najivunia nchi yangu ya Kenya. Kenya kipenzi ni nchi ya ajabu. Yafurahisha na kupendeza. Nikitazama pembe zote za Kenya. Naona nchi ya metameta. Maendeleo tunazidi kupata. Nchi yetu yasonga mbele. Sababu gani Kenya yasonga mbele?
All right, we continue to wait for the proceedings at the Bomas of Kenya to begin. We've just seen another motorcade arriving, and Rashid, we've been here for 5 hours, so this is our 5th hour as we wait for the announcement of the 5th president. For how long shall we have to wait?
Sidhani kama tutasubiri sana kama kwa wanapozungumza wachanganuzi Sam Gitu kwamba kama ashafika sasa hivi na ni saa 10, basi inamaanisha muda wote kuanzia sasa IEBC itaweza kutekeleza majukumu yake kisheria na taifa liweze kujua ni yupi ambaye amepata kura nyingi zaidi. Kile kitu ambacho singependa nikizungumze sana ni kwamba situmie neno na kwamba kuna mmoja atashindwa, mmoja atabwagwa. Ni maneno ambayo yanatia chuki sana kwa wafuasi. Kwa tuseme tu mmoja amepata kura nyingi, alafu watatu wakapata kura chache, basi mwenye kura nyingi ndiye ambaye anastahili kupewa cheti na kuwa kiongozi. Kwa sababu sasa hivi hata ile sherehe ilikuwa inaendelea maeneo tofauti tofauti, baada ya viongozi wote wamefika kidogo imetulia. Kumaanisha kwamba sasa hivi hamna sherehe itaendelea baada ya mwenyekiti kutangaza yule ambaye ameweza kupata idadi ya kura nyingi. Nafikiri ni siku ngumu sana kwa wale wagombea urais kushinda wale wafuasi wanaosubiri kujua nani atakuwa rais wa 5.
And the most interesting bit is that as we await the arrival of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, we've seen a motorcade, we're waiting to confirm if indeed that is him. Then it would be a rare occurrence because, Steve, in 2017, we didn't see all the presidential candidates at the Bomas of Kenya. In fact, the most significant candidate was the winner, that is Uhuru Kenyatta at that time. And I'm talking about the August 8th general election. Should Raila Odinga make his way there, then this would be a historic moment where you find all the presidential candidates at the auditorium waiting for the announcement, which up to this point in time, it appears that it's only Wafula Chebukati's secret.
Well, I think the Constitution itself anticipates some minimum or residual level of political maturity and decency. And in a perfect constitutional and political setting, you would be expecting all the candidates that contested in that election to show up for the final announcement. So the failure by the Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to show up in 2017 can only be explained in terms of political bad manners. He needed to have shown up, show appreciation, and tell the IEBC, we have received your results, but we disagree. You're going to progress to the court. That is the kind of maturity that promotes peace and tranquility in the country. So we expect that if that indeed is his motorcade, that would be commendable. We would have expected him to show up, and if he has indeed arrived, then we thank him and we commend that action. We also expected the other candidate, David Mwaure, to also show up, just in solidarity, because he participated in the election to the end. Yeah, he's already there, yeah?
Yes.
That's fine. That is the kind of solidarity we need in our political leadership. It also helps to manage the tension. Because if a leading presidential contender fails to show up to receive the results, it demoralizes his support base. And in a country that is deeply divided along ethnic lines, you can see, even without intending, the action of absconding or staying away from the formal declaration of results, that ceremony, can trigger unrest. Because supporters tend to sympathize. Kriegler said, if you look at the IREC report, the independent review report that analyzed the management of election in 2007, they said Kenyans have a peculiar habit. They are heavily invested in the elections, that it makes it impossible to transition post the election.
And Rashid, on your screen, you'll find the arrival of the Deputy President's mother, arriving at the Bomas of Kenya alongside other family members, of course, arriving here to witness the announcement from the IEBC, of which we still do not know the details, that Wafula Chebukati will be declaring to the country. Of course, ours is to wait for that announcement, just like even those friends and family of the candidates will also be waiting for.
Lakini pengine kuna swali mtu angependa labda pengine niulize. Kuna uwezekano kwamba hadi kufikia sasa walio pale hawajui nani ambaye ameweza kupata kura nyingi? Kufikia sasa, ikiwa sasa tushafika saa 10, na kuna uwezekano kwamba labda pengine wale viongozi wa karibu na viongozi wao, nauliza nyote, Steve, Javas, na kuna uwezekano kwamba watu wana mwelekeo kwamba inaelekea, ama bado kufikia sasa sio wote wanaojua sasa nini kinachoendelea?
You see, Rashid, what I think reasonably so is that it is unimaginable that the leading presidential candidates or the presidential candidates would get invitation, especially in the case of the possible winner, without being told or hinted that he has got the chances, because in this case you've got only the 4 male presidential candidates. Secondly, elections such as this are a national security issue. It is unimaginable, improbable, that, for instance, the head of the military would be unaware of who has won this election. It would be unimaginable that the head of intelligence would be unaware of this who is the winner. It is improbable as well that the head of the team amongst the elite squad in the military that protects or provides security to the president is unaware of who has won this election. So looking at it from that, or from those kinds of lenses, it is possible that the person seated within Bomas right now, there are those who know who is the ultimate winner, possibly in this election, but it is just important that they embrace good manners and have civility throw its arms around them and wait for Chebukati, according by law, or to the law of the country, to make the official announcement.
Naam, katika picha yako naangalia ni mama ambaye alimzaa William Ruto tarehe 21 Disemba mwaka 1966 kule Sambut kijijini Kamagut katika kaunti ya Uasin Gishu. Anajulikana kama Sarah Cheruiyot. Ndio huyo ambaye amefika akisaidiwa kutembea mpaka amefika tafutiwa mahali yake, sehemu yake ya kukaa. Kwa ni kwamba amekuja pia vile vile kusubiri na kuona kama mwanawe huenda akawa amepata nafasi ya kuwa rais wa 5 wa jamhuri hii ya Kenya. Nafikiri ni mojawapo ya hatua nzuri. Javas, alikuwa unatabasamu, lakini kama mzazi yoyote yule katika siku kama leo, ungetamani kwamba labda ile ndoto ambayo mwanangu anapigania, kwa wazazi ni furaha, kwa watoto pia ni furaha kwa wazazi wao, na pia vile vile kwa mke ambaye watu wameoa pia wanatamani kwamba mume wangu alichopigania akipate. Kwa hiyo siku muhimu sana kwa familia, ndugu, jamaa na marafiki.
Kweli kabisa. Wacha niangalie kupitia kioo cha nyuma, pale ambapo hawa wagombea viti vya urais walikuwa wanawateua wagombea wenza. Je, asubuhi hiyo wagombea wenza hawa hawakujua? Walijua. Ndipo sasa wengine wao walikuja na familia zao kadhalika. Sidhani kama nikiangalia
pia tujamuona yeye mwenyewe kwa picha za moja kwa moja katika runinga, kwa tusubiri tukiuona tutakuja kujua kwamba je ameandamana na nani na nani, alafu baadaye hizo hesabu utaziweka
kweli.
Very interesting. I don't know if any of you was able to observe the events of 2013 as soon as the president-elect was declared by Isaka San, at that time the chair of IEBC, and maybe you could refresh our memories if any of you remembers, the change of guard, sort of activities and ceremonies that followed that announcement up until the president-elect that time left the auditorium, in what could be what you might see this evening, if at all, there's a winner to be declared?
Amazingly, because now it's almost 10 years.
Yes.
My memory doesn't serve me very right, but I think I was in these studios. But as expected, the person who's been declared president-elect, they normally, fall back to their official, would say, communication centers and meet, congregate with their supporters. And then we also know that officially there is the assumption to the office of the President Committee, whose functions now kick in. So the protocols around the security detailing and other arrangements begin thereof. But in terms of the president-elect, those people around him, close supporters and supporters around the country, we know it's a jubilation.
Right.
Kenyans will pour out onto the streets and markets and villages and start, and there are also speeches that are expected from all the candidates, whether, indicating the direction they'll take. The president-elect obviously will present, and if I recall 2013, a speech of magnanimity, promising to get to Kenyans together, to work together. Obviously, at that time, there was indication from the other side that they would go to the Supreme Court. They're not satisfied with the elections results, and that had been earlier, indicated. So it was sort of, at least, the difference between then and this year is that, as we've seen since Kenyans finished voting, and today we haven't had so much from the candidates.
Okay. What I'm looking for is the specific changes that you witness, because I remember in 2013 how Uhuru Kenyatta got into the auditorium is not the same way he left that auditorium. He was, of course, surrounded by security men. I don't know that they're women, and also different motorcade. He didn't ride in the same vehicle that he came in? Steve?
Yeah, of course, if you look at the provisions of Article 138, Sub-Article 10, that requires IEBC to declare the results, and then you read it together with the provisions of Article 140, in terms of the timelines for swearing in, of course, if the president-elect when the president-elect has been declared, his status then changes, yeah? He becomes, for all practical purposes, he becomes the president. Only for purposes of transition, he has to be sworn in, and therefore the outgoing president remains the president until the handover of power officially has been completed, in this case, perhaps on 30th of August, if there is no petition. Now, that means that, of course, post the announcement, you can expect enhanced security, change of protocol, and he'll be treated as the president. You can expect communication, and I think Bobby has put it correctly, communication will now follow formal channels.
Right.
Of course, as he walks out, he may want to give us a short speech, it is a Thanksgiving speech, but you can expect the protocol to change immediately post-announcement, and you can expect the outgoing president to gradually, minimize his contact with the public to allow the assumption of office, the committee on the assumption of office, to issue the official communication. I think by law, right now, the president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, has probably completed the transition and is only in State House for purposes of handing over power. Should there be an emergency, then he would continue. If there's no exceptional emergency, he will be holding fort only for a limited period to facilitate the transfer. So yes, in short, we will have two presidents actively, one in office, one waiting to come in, but enjoying the same perks. That's what it is.
And of course, the president-elect will have an office of the president-elect can actually issue formal communication. Javas, you wanted to add something?
Well, yeah, that's very true. And then again, since the time when Kenyans went into election on August 9th, and new officials, new politicians, new leaders voted into office, we know that now the issue of incumbency that's temporary arises, becomes active. For example, right now, you know that we do not have a sitting parliament. All right? We do not have a speakers of both houses, the Senate and the National Assembly. There are some things now that, factually speaking, the executive can do to the limitation of the law, and also anticipating that the arm of government, that is the legislature, will, according to program or schedule of law, get to be sworn into office. Now, these transitions that we witness, for example, the one we are witnessing through this election, puts to the fore one thing, that we can have such kind of peaceful transitions. And we are trusting that we're going to have a peaceful transition, and that whoever will be declared the much hope, that they know that the duty and responsibility of nation building is placed upon those shoulders or the laps of our leaders. And so the entire world's eyes are upon this country. The eyes of the country are upon Bomas and Chebukati, and what kind of reactions will be drawn from various parts of the country once that announcement is made. We expect order, we expect civility, but I think we also expect good manners.
And I'm getting some reminders here that in August 2017, yes, Raila Odinga was not in the auditorium as the president-elect was being declared, but he had been there alongside his NASA principals hours before the announcement by IEBC, but left. Of course, they had also been pursuing some more time to allow for verification of results. That never happened and eventually ended up at the Supreme Court, and that election was nullified. And Rashid, I'm being told that in 2013, something else also happened, because Uhuru Kenyatta at that time had already left cabinet. So had William Ruto, remember, in 2013. But as soon as they were declared president-elect and deputy president-elect, they were accorded special security, obviously, but also their homes, both in Nairobi and up-country, were secured, more security deployed to them. And of course, there was established the president-elect's office. It was at the KICC. So maybe these are things that may happen, whether it's Raila Odinga, whether it's William Ruto, and if up-country home. And the same for Raila Odinga if you are to be announced the president-elect in this.
Na nafikiri Sam, hilo ni swala ambalo kwa likizungumziwa wale wa Kenya wangependa kuliona. Lakini pia kwa taarifa ni kwamba ule msafara ambao tumeweza kuona wakati ule pale Bomas haukuwa msafara ambao tunatarajia uwe ni wa mgombea wa urais kwa tiketi ya Azimio la Umoja wa Kenya Bwana Raila Amolo Odinga, lakini labda muda wote kutoka sasa tunatarajia kwamba msafara wake labda utakuwa unatoka maeneo ya Karen. Basi tukipata picha za moja kwa moja tutakueleza msafara huo unaelekea wapi. Lakini kwa hivi sasa ni kwamba kwa taarifa zonazo ni kwamba yale magari tulikuwa tumeona yakiingia pale haukuwa ni msafara wake. Lakini pia kuna jambo moja ambalo mmeweza kulizungumzia na unapozungumza kuhusu masuala ya kuchukua mamlaka kwa ofisi na kadhalika. Tukiangalia ule mseto wa viongozi katika kambi zote mbili, tunaona kwamba pale kuna watu ambao ni weledi wa kazi, kwamba kuna mtu ambaye ako upande wa Azimio, lakini mtu aliye katika Kenya Kwanza anajua yule jamaa ni mzuri kwa masuala fulani, na kuna watu ambao wako Azimio wakiangalia upande wa Kenya Kwanza anajua ni uzuri. Tunaweza pata siasa komavu kwa yoyote akiingia madarakani, anapokuwa anaunda serikali yake katika nyadhifa muhimu, akavunja utamaduni uliokuwepo na akabisha hodi kwa kambi ya simu kwenda kutafuta utendaji, akajumuisha katika serikali yake. Tunaweza kuona kitu kama hicho kwa mara ya kwanza taifa letu la Kenya?
Inawezekana. Unakumbuka kwamba haitakuwa mara ya kwanza kufanyika.
Nasema kulingana na zile siasa zilivyo kuwa yani kwa sababu kumekuwa na siasa kali na kampeni kali.
Lakini sasa hivi huenda ikawa ni changamoto kubwa sana. Kwa mfano, acha tuchukue taswira hii. Kwa majadiliano haya, Bwana Odinga ana ule muungano wake wa Azimio. Alafu kwa mfano akipata ushindi, itakuwaje kwamba ana vyama karibu 26 ambavyo vimemuunga mkono, aondoke katika vyama hivyo 26 badala ya kuchukua mmoja wao ama wote, karibu wote kutoka mrengo huo kumfanya wazo mshindi? Na kumbuka kwamba kuna vyama ambavyo vimemuunga mkono na kumpatia huo ushindi. Itakuwaje kwamba kuchagua watu katika mrengo huo, wengine ambao walimpatia walimuunga mkono wawe sio wakuu wa vyama, aende katika upande ule mwingine? Iwapo atazingatia hiyo kwa mara ya kwanza, kuna wale ambao watamchukulia kwamba ni msaliti. Kwa hivyo itakuwa ni vyema kwamba hata akitaka kwanza ajadiliane na unajua kwamba hataki ukuta wa taifa ubomoke. Unajua usema kwamba usipoziba ufa basi ni ukuta utajenga. Kwa hivyo kama ni hivyo, itabidi kwamba angalie, je, ni achague mtu kiongozi kutoka kwa pande pinzani ama atafute mtu kutoka kabila hilo na isikuwe pengine mwanasiasa shupavu, ili kwamba iweze kufanyika namna hiyo. Huenda pia kafanyika hivyo.
Na Bobby, labda alafu MP Steve, kwa sababu tuliona wakati fulani pale kulikuwa na tofauti nchini Kenya, tukaona kwamba viongozi walikuja wakatembea, kama mnakumbuka, katikati jiji la Nairobi, kuonesha wananchi kwamba tumeweka tofauti zetu kando, tutakatusonge pamoja. Lakini hatua mojawapo ya kuweka tofauti ni kama kuna mtu ambaye ana umuhimu katika ujenzi wa taifa, na haijalisha ukambi gani, wewe kuweza kumleta kambi yako, nafikiri moja kwa moja umeondoa zile hisia na wananchi watakuelewa na nchi itasonga mbele.
I think that was directed to Bobby, but let me give it a shot. So in principle, allow me to answer in English. It's more important than partisan political positions. But in our local context, we will also appreciate that what happens is not necessary to advance national interest. Sometimes cross-pollination is founded on very narrow parochial interests, like just killing opposition. You know, we saw this since time immemorial. In Moi's time, you would co-opt members of the political opposition. Had this new constitution that delinked the executive from the legislature. You had nearly a third of members of the National Assembly serving in the cabinet, sometimes even from the political opposition. That makes it very difficult to check the government. I think what we must not do is to create or inject impurities, political communication coming from the political opposition. You have the lead of minority that says this is the second most largest party in parliament. Ideally, we shouldn't be having people aligned to the to the minority party serving in the majority government. You get? Because then that undermines accountability. But if you're looking for technocrats, bureaucrats, in this reason or another, whoever wins the presidency wants to co-opt either of these technocrats, they would be at liberty to do so. Because
kuwa na nyadhifa yake kama kiongozi 10.
Hii tuwe nao katika tuseme yule ndio kiongozi wa masuala ama shughuli za upinzani zinachukuliwa, wadhifa unachukuliwa na kiongozi wa upinzani, leader.
National definition is the leader of the party that has the highest number of elected members, and the leader in the National Assembly, and the leader of minority is the second most largest party in the National Assembly. If it so happens that the leader of majority and the head of the executive come from opposing camps, we would still expect them at the very minimum to have some harmonious work relationship. We will expect, Parliament has been designed to work independently outside the influence of the office of the President of the Executive. So that if it's about generating bills, the bills would be generated by the Cabinet. The Attorney General would be responsible for preparation of those bills and then share them with the leader of majority. The leader of majority is, by law, mandated to ensure that those bills are tabled and canvassed. If he declines then there would be need for judicial intervention, because then he would be sabotaging the functions of that office. If he is within the same party as the president or not, whether they have fallen out or whether they are they have a harmonious.
But how practical is that? Because remember the different bills that have been passed in the 12th Parliament, whether it's the security laws or it's the VAT introduction on fuel, and you find that lead of majority then, Aden Duale, would be at the forefront. Assuming that President Kenyatta's party was ODM, led by John Mbadi, and Aden Duale does not believe in what the government was pushing for, how do you reconcile that? Because Aden Duale would have been forced to propagate something he doesn't believe in.
Well, you know, there's no limit on how far someone can go to sabotage a constitutional office. But what we do know for sure is that the Constitution expects a harmonious work relationship between the two offices, regardless of the composition of the nature of their relationship between the office of the president and the office of the leader of majority. I think that scenario has not already played, but if it were to happen, if Parliament does not want to advance the legislative interest of the executive, then the executive is at liberty to move to court to compel them to pass legislation that are key. If they cannot pass those legislation, then we would have to review. The political accountability would be the executive would then treat. If Parliament decides to sabotage national interest, then they do not punish the president. You punish the general population, which includes the voters.
All right, it's now 4:30 p.m. We've been here for more than 5 hours waiting for the fifth. And I think, Lulu, we have to let go for another team to continue with the very important duty of waiting, because that's our work. My name is Sam Gituku.
Nami nasema shukran sana kwa wageni wetu siku ya leo, lakini haimaanishi kwamba tunaacha kupeperusha taarifa hizi moja kwa moja, lakini kuna wengine ambao wanaingia sasa, wanashikilia zamu. Ni Wahiga Maura, Jeff Koinange, Vigili Badili, Nabii Mashima Kapombe.
Na bila shaka tulikuwa watatu, hatujabahatika kupata matokeo ya moja kwa moja kwa rais wa 5, lakini tuna wenzetu 4 wanakamilisha marais wa kwanza, wa pili, wa 3, wa 4 watakuwa wanaingia studioni ili watupe matokeo, yani nani atakuwa rais wa 5. Mtazamaji, tunasema asante zaidi kutizama Citizen TV. Tunakupeleka moja kwa moja ukumbini Bomas ujue kinachoendelea.
Simama, Wakenya wote simama. Simama, wewe shujaa, simama. Nchi yangu, jukumu langu, mimi ni shujaa, shujaa. Najivunia taifa langu, mimi ni shujaa, shujaa. Simama, Wakenya wote simama. Simama, wewe shujaa, simama. Simama, Wakenya wote simama. Simama, wewe shujaa, simama.
Kenya yaito beautiful, mazingira tobwate colorful. Aba Kenya na bantu wonderful, proud to be Kenyan, I'm grateful.
Simama, 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 wewe shujaa, simama. Simama, Wakenya wote simama. Simama, wewe shujaa, simama.
chama shujuka nebo kigano katingo suka yangu jukumu langu yangu hatuchagui kazi kazi ni kazi boda boda vijana mitaani Kenya yeto molembe no bomo no wachani talikende nande tiganya saya tolende atokitera tuagate botambe nchi yangu jukumu langu mimi ni shujaa shujaa najivunia taifa langu mimi ni shujaa
particularly about the integrity of the IEBC technology and server. We have intelligence and reports that their system was penetrated and hacked, and that some of the IEBC officials actually committed electoral offenses, and some of them ought to have been arrested if they were not arrested. I think you will remember that I had earlier stated that Bomas of Kenya was a crime scene, and that was way before the results of this. The reason that I say Bomas of Kenya was a crime scene is because as Kenyans were busy waiting for the outcome of this election,
Simama, Wakenya wote simama, songe pamoja. Simama, wewe shujaa, simama. Yelele, yelele, simama, Wakenya wote simama. Simama, wewe shujaa, simama. Wewe shujaa.
Commission IEBC to account to the people of Kenya to deliver a free, fair, credible, verifiable election. The people of Kenya deserve nothing less. Thank you very much. I will now give it to my colleagues. And lastly, because my colleagues are indicated, lastly, may I say that there is we will be able to know and to tell the Kenyan people, because a result that is not verifiable is not a result, and therefore that is our and the chairman had actually assured Kenyans that he will run this process transparently, which he has not.
Is the party chairman, a party leader, presidential candidate coming here?
I will not take questions for now, but we were not in a position to ask our party leader to come before we actually verify the results. So the first step was to verify the results, which we have not been able to do. Yes. Can you tell us about the irregularities? Yeah, I think that's enough. That's enough. Thank you very much.
Ukinyesha tusinyeshewe, tuwe salama. Serikali kaingilia, tapunguza gharama. The day is finally here, tunahama. Finally, sawa kwa wote. Hata yule mapato ni duni, malazi yopata. Sisi wana Kenya tujitenga. Tuanzeni kujenga. Watoto wetu wasikose mahali pa kwenda.
simiti weka kwa mabega. Tunajenga, tunajenga. The journey starts with you and with me. Freedom is here. Mimi na wewe ndio wenye nchi. Tujenge pamoja. Usikose mahali pa kwenda. Chukua mawe na simiti weka kwa mabega. Tunajenga, tunajenga. Tuanzeni kujenga. Watoto wetu wasikose mahali pa kwenda. Chukua mawe na simiti weka kwa mabega. Tunavuta kwa pamoja. Kenya ni makao yetu. Twafurahia uhuru wetu. Kenya ni makao yetu. Twafurahia uhuru wetu. Kenya yasonga mbele. Kenya yasonga mbele. Babu zetu walimwaga damu kukomboa nchi yetu Kenya, tukapata uhuru. Kwa juhudi zao tunajitawala, kwa ujuzi wetu tunasonga mbele. Shambani tunachapa kazi, twaboresha makao. Tunachapa kazi, twaboresha afya. Tunachapa kazi, tunasonga mbele. is bright.
For the youth of Kenya.
The future is bright.
For the children of Kenya.
The future is bright.
With a big for agenda.
The future is bright.
Tunavuta kwa pamoja.
The future is bright. Ya haki Kenya ni makao yetu. Twafurahia uhuru wetu. Ya haki Kenya ni makao yetu. Twafurahia uhuru wetu. Kenya yasonga mbele. Kenya yasonga mbele. Kenya yasonga mbele. Tunajenga nchi yetu. Kenya yasonga mbele. Kenya yasonga mbele. Kenya yasonga mbele. Kenya yasonga mbele. Tunajenga nchi yetu. Kenya yasonga mbele. We celebrate Kenya. Hey!
I hear a whisper in the wind of a people with a dream, different colors of a nation come together for a win.
We share spirit deep within. Our hearts beat in the rhythm. Different faces of the nation come together for the win.
Pamoja tunaweza, twajijenga. Pamoja we can.
We are, we rise, we spread beyond our limits. Said we are stronger. We have fire. We are. We are. We are. We are. Warriors. Warriors. We are warriors. We are. We are. We are. Do the incredible.
This is Kenya's Choice 2022, and many thanks for keeping it Citizen TV, even as we keep our cameras and our eyes fixed on the Bomas of Kenya, the National Tallying Center. My name is Wahiga Mwaura, and I'm not alone here in studio. I'm together with...
Naam, bila shaka mimi ni Mashirima Kapombe, tukiwa tunaendelea tu kusubiri tangazo hilo kutoka IEBC. Mwenyekiti wa IEBC Wafula Chebukati alikuwa anatarajiwa kutangaza rais aliyechaguliwa mwendo wa saa 9, wakaahirisha hadi mwendo wa saa 10. Sijui kama wanangojea saa 11 ndio iwe the 5th at 5 p.m.
That is the question we are all asking, and Victoria Rubadiri, all eyes, of course, are at the Bomas of Kenya. And this is after slightly over 14.1 million Kenyans took to the polling stations on August 9th, and their votes taking that journey from the over 46,000 polling stations to now the Form 34C, bearing the final result of the presidential race. 4 presidential candidates campaigned, they debated, and now waiting for this moment of reckoning. But we also have
Jeff Koinange here in the house, folks, and I tell you, it's been a wait and a wait and a wait. The patience of Kenyans is wearing. It's going to wear at some point, because you know, Chebukati promised to make an announcement 3 p.m. It's now 5 p.m.
The choirs can only do so much.
The choir. I think the fat lady has come and sang again. So we're waiting. It's a waiting game.
But something very interesting, Jeff, happened about a little under 30 minutes ago. The chief agent of Raila Odinga, Saitabao Ole Kanchori, called for a sort of impromptu press briefing just outside that auditorium there at the Bomas of Kenya, and said some very interesting things that may shed light on why we continue to wait and why presidential candidates and their agents have actually walked out of Bomas, including members of the diplomatic corps, and are now holding impromptu meetings on different parts of the premises of the Bomas of Kenya. This is what Saitabao said. He said, this election is not verifiable from where they sit. He raised questions with the chairman of the IEBC that they feel they do not have answers to. And when the chief agent of Raila Odinga was asked whether his presidential candidate is expected, he said that Raila Odinga will not be called to Bomas until his team has verified the results. I have agreed with them, and these results are contained in the Form 34C, a compilation of Form 34Bs from the 290 constituencies plus one from the diaspora vote. And so that's what we know at this moment. Obviously, you can tell that something is afoot for an announcement that was to be made at 3 p.m. Almost 2 hours later, no sign of the commissioners, a lot of activity there, and then this statement by the chief agent of Raila Odinga, giving us a bit of an idea of where the dispute may be, and that is what may have caused this particular delay. Thanks for staying with us, wherever you're joining us from in Kenya and around the world. And let me also introduce our guests who are here with us. Bobby Mkangu continues to remain with us, an advocate of the High Court. Thanks for your patience today and just for bearing with this. We want to pick your mind a little bit. We're also joined by Titus Mahanu, an advocate of the High Court. And Titus, I can start immediately with you. You listened to that press briefing. What do you make of it?
Of course, under the Constitution, any candidate that has participated in an election has a right to either accept the results, has a right to reject the results based on how they view and based on the grounds that they feel ought to be put out in the public there.
Okay. What do you think Saitabao was not saying?
As to try and read into his intention, yes, a bit difficult, but what I can say is I foresee a situation where this election is going to be challenged.
You foresee that, and we have some of the timelines, and we'll be showing our viewers a bit later on what that looks like. But my goodness, this is quite a trend.
Definitely, if the elections are going to be challenged, we are looking at a scenario where the petition challenging the declaration has to be filed within 7 days. And 14 days after filing of that petition, the Supreme Court needs to determine it. Now, the question will be, or it will depend as to how the verdict will come. If the Supreme Court will be able to overturn the declaration, then we are staring at another 60 days, within which another fresh election needs to be held.
And of course,
we are looking at probably towards the end of October before we can conclude this exercise of elections.
Nadhani Mkangi, ukiangalia jinsi hali ilivyo pale, baadhi ya viongozi kutoka pande zote mbili walikuwa wametulia awali. Sasa hivi unaona ni kama wengine wanatoka, wengine wanarudi, wengine wanapigana pambaja. Je, inakupa matumaini kwamba kutakuwa na tangazo leo la rais aliyechaguliwa?
Tulitaanza saa 9 mchana. Kwa hivyo nadhani ataendelea na shughuli na atatoa matangazo yake. Tumesikia pia kutoka upande wa mgombea wa Azimio Kenya One wakisema kwamba hawajaridhika na mchakato haswa kuhakikisha matokeo kufikia sasa, lakini hakutoa taarifa za ziada. Pengine kwa upande wao manake wanajua siku za makataa.
Bobby, if I can interrupt you just to let our viewers know, there seem to be some leaders exiting the Bomas of Kenya. I've seen outgoing Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria is leaving. Outgoing Governor James Ongwae should be of Kisii also leaving. A sign, and of course they are Azimio leaning. We don't know where they're headed to, possibly to converge either at KICC at the Azimio Command Center, or maybe even to meet with presidential candidate Raila Odinga, but that is their motorcade, and they have left the Bomas of Kenya. And this is a kind of activity we may see in line with that statement by Saitabao Ole Kanchori that They haven't verified the results. They are not clearly satisfied if Chebukati was to read or make an announcement right now. And so this is very telling. Mkangu, you can continue.
Nilikuwa nasema kwamba siku za makataa za kikatiba ni kesho. Kwa hivyo hatujui kama upande wa mgombea aliyekuwa waziri mkuu Raila Odinga wanataka kuiomba tume iwape fursa ya wao wenyewe kuhakikisha kwamba wanakubaliana na matokeo ambayo yatatangazwa leo, lakini hiyo inaashiria kwamba pengine wanajua
labda kungekuwa na kazi imemzidia hivyo kana kwamba hawajamaliza mambo ya verifiability, angeweza kuenda kotini na kuuliza muda zaidi. Manake katiba haijatoa mwongozo kamili ya kwamba siku 7 zinapoisha basi hiyo shughuli inakuwa imeishia hapo. Hapana, imesema tu ana uwezo wa kutoa uamuzi wake chini ya muda wa siku 7. Lakini kwa sababu tuko na Supreme Court hapa Kenya, ikiwa huo muda umemwishia, anaweza enda kotini akauliza muda zaidi.
Okay. Bobby, let me bring you in here because there's a lot of speculation, especially on social media, as to what appears on that Form 34C and whose signatures should be appended on it. I've been seeing talk of some chief agents refusing to sign that form.
Interpretation, does it?
No. They are going with the flow. It looks like mostly Kenya Kwanza who is doing that.
And so here's what we know so far. About 40 minutes ago or so, after silence from the agents of both leading presidential candidates, Saitabao Ole Kanchori had an impromptu press briefing just on the lawn there of the Bomas of Kenya. He said from where they sit, the verification was opaque, and for that reason, they will not be asking or inviting their presidential candidate to make his way to the Bomas of Kenya until they have that confirmation. So that is their challenge at this particular moment. Remember, a few days ago, Saitabao had actually walked up to the dais there and stated that the Bomas of Kenya is a crime scene. Remember, also, Wafula Chebukati had stated that he will make this announcement during daylight hours. Jeff, we have about 52 minutes to 6 p.m. If he wants to stick within that, he's got another 52 minutes or so to make that announcement. But I'm told we also have some more news from the IEBC. Mashirima?
Naam, bila shaka zile taarifa ambazo naarifiwa kwamba tuendelee kwanza huku tukingoja taarifa hizo ziweze kuthibitishwa, lakini kama tumekuwa tukisema hapa, hizo nyimbo si za sifa, ni za uzalendo, lakini inaonekana ni upande mmoja ambao unahisi kwamba ni wazalendo hivi sasa. Tumekuwa tukitarajia kwamba tangazo hili litafanyika toka saa 9, lakini baadhi ya viongozi haswa kutoka Azimio la Umoja tumewaona wakiondoka kutoka hapo Bomas. Kama alivyosema awali Waihiga, ni kwamba wakala mkuu wa upande wa Azimio Saitabao Ole Kanchori alikuwa na wanahabari hapo awali na kusema kwamba wanatashwishi kwa sababu hawajaweza kuona hiyo fomu 34C ambayo ndio imejumlisha matokeo kutoka zile fomu 34B. Kumbuka walikuwa wanahakiki fomu 34A zilizokuwa kwenye Kim's kit, kisha wanalinganisha na zile original copies, kisha wanalinganisha na kile ambacho kilikuwa kimenakiliwa kwa 34B na kuzijumlisha kwenye fomu 34C. Kile ambacho tulikuwa tunatarajia ni kwamba hadi kufikia sasa Wafula Chebukati atakuja na fomu 34D ambayo ndio cheti cha kumkabidhi mshindi wa uchaguzi huu wa urais. Kinyang'anyiro ambacho bila shaka kimekuwa kigumu, sijui nisemeje, manake zile takwimu ambazo tumekuwa tukiona ni kwamba hawa wagombeaji wawili wakuu wamekuwa kikaribiana sana. Lakini nadhani kwa sasa kile ambacho wengi wanataka kujua ni nini haswa kinachoendelea Bomas, mbali na wale ambao tunawaona wakiongoza shughuli hiyo kwa nyimbo za uzalendo. Kwa wageni wetu hapa tumeona haswa wale mabalozi na baadhi ya viongozi wakiwa wanakutana kule nyuma. Hivi sasa tunaona gavana wa kuchaguliwa James Orengo aliyekuwa mgombeaji katika eneo la Embakasi
pamoja na Nairobi woman rep elect Esther Passaris in the middle of that group, and others huddled, conversing, discussing on numerous phone calls happening at the same time. And the assembly there at that auditorium, Mashirima, has changed. A lot of empty seats now. A lot of people have left. Some we've seen them exiting in their vehicles there at the entrance of the entrance/exit of the Bomas of Kenya. And so this shot really telling us a lot in terms of the consultations that are happening at this particular time.
Now,
at this moment.
Waihiga, awali ulikuwa unatueleza sehemu ambapo tumeona hao mabalozi na viongozi wengine wakiwa wanaingia. Unasema ni sehemu ambayo si rahisi kufika. Nadhani wewe na Nimrod mlijaribu wako.
We were looking for some interviews yesterday, and that is a difficult place to access. And there's a lot of commotion around there. We don't know if all the commissioners are in there. That's where their lounge is. That's where they retreat to. That's where a lot of the work is happening beyond the validation verification you are seeing on the floor of the auditorium. There's a lot that was happening behind that corridor where the rooms are placed. Many of us journalists who are at the Bomas were not able to access. But obviously, some of the big questions that have been asked at this time has been, will IEBC complete this process on time? It does look like they will. Who will they declare the winner? Well, we're still waiting.
We're still waiting. And also, for the fact of clearing this up for a lot of our viewers, because Bomas of Kenya has been the host of a lot of political posturing, if you will, where we see a lot of the political agents oftentimes being blamed by the IEBC commissioners for delaying the process. And when you look at this to our two guests, in terms of people leaving the amphitheater, some coming back in, phone calls flying here and there, what impact does it have on the process? At the end of the day, the Supreme Court said it's not an event. It's a process, one that started at the polling stations on August 9th. And according to that Maina Kiai ruling, that is where the presidential race was won or lost. So when we see these displays, what does it mean? Does it have any impact, any bearing whatsoever on that process? I'll start with you, Bobby.
In terms of the technical process, not so much. Mm-hmm. Because we know, and Kenyans have been watching the process of, tallying, verifying up to this stage, and some of them also have been doing their own independent tallying, because, as you indicated, the 34A forms are available on IEBC's website. So that aspect of it is so that there is transparency in the process, but also everyone can eventually verify what Chebukati announces and as against what is in the forms. So in terms of that technical aspect, in terms of the program and the timing that the chairperson has indicated, I think that this does not have any great impact. We must remember also this ceremonial arrangement is very much again for the optics of accountability, of transparency, of inclusion, but it could be the case because it's not a direct or categorical constitutional requirement that we must have this kind of ceremony where we even invite the diplomatic corps to come and you witness this. I think it's more in the cause of considering this to be a major national and state event that the IEBC does make it, and declare in this very, very regaliad, if I may use that term, kind of event. Definitely, I think it has an impact, as I said, in terms of the optics and what those communicate out there to the Kenyans who are following this particularly, but also to the rest of the world, because they have been following this, they have been watching the events at IEBC, at Bomas of Kenya. And now we are seeing the choirs are back early in the morning. It was very much a celebratory mood with everyone in the auditorium, getting up and dancing and getting down, as we say, to the music that the different choirs and musicians were tuning out. So this I think has more impact in terms of what it communicates.
Okay. Gentlemen, if you could just look at the screens right now, look at live pictures of quite a few people literally walking out. There are quite a few people walking out, even as the religious...
But I'm not sure where... That was the Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate, UDA presidential candidate, William Ruto. I'm not sure where he's heading to, because what we're seeing on the auditorium is a build-up in terms of arrival of different delegations here to the dais there. We've seen Interreligious Council members, Jeff.
Right.
They've filled up some of those seats now at the stage. Archbishop Jackson Olesapit of the Anglican Church, Archbishop Martin Kivuva, the chair of the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, Bishop Emeritus David Oginde, who's the chair of the, I think, Evangelicals Association of Kenya, and others. We're now seeing also presidential candidates also arriving. So I suspect Deputy President William Ruto, who's the Kenya Kwanza candidate, is being routed to probably be somewhere behind the scenes here, as it seems that we are now closer than ever before to that announcement, Jeff, that Kenyans and the region and the continent and maybe the world have been waiting for since 3 p.m.
Inaonekana kuna shughuli hapo ni kana kwamba lile tangazo ambalo tumekuwa tukilingoja litafanyika muda wowote kutoka sasa. Lakini unajua wanahabari huwa tuna tabia ya kusema muda wote kutoka sasa, alafu tutaendelea kusema muda wote kutoka sasa hadi saa 1. Kwa hivyo ni kuwa tuna subra tuweze kuona kile ambacho kitaendelea. Namwona huyo ni mgombeaji wa chama cha Agano, David Mwaure, akiwa pia anaingia hapo kwenye eneo hilo la Bomas, ambapo viongozi hao wa dini tayari wamekaa kwenye viti wakingojea tu tangazo hilo kutoka kwa Wafula Chebukati.
And I think everyone will be keenly following Jeff, the announcement that Wafula Chebukati makes, whether it aligns with Article 138 of the Constitution. The requirement to avoid a runoff would be to have a candidate who receives 50% plus 1 votes across the country, and at least 25% of the votes cast in each of more than half of the counties. And there's been a lot of speculation that could this be the first runoff the country will see. Well, the man and the team that know could be stepping up onto the screen there.
Any moment from now.
Any moment from now, Jack.
Literally any moment. It's becoming a bevy of activity over there. Wahiga, you said you tried to get into that space a while ago.
We used everything we could.
Labda leo mngefaulu.
Our way there. The security team has been enhanced almost 3 times this week. There was a lean team on Tuesday into Wednesday. From Thursday, it was escalated. Even getting into the gate was a problem, even with the right documents. And yesterday, you had to fight to make your win, especially with the incidents. I know you guys saw, and we were in studio with some of you.
Yeah.
Laptops, and all, commotion over different issues. And so the security team here has had to keep changing their protocols as they assess the situation on the ground.
No, absolutely. And of course, that amphitheater floor has been cleared of those tables that initially were set up to verify the Form 34B coming in from the returning officers, 290 of them, but now all collated into the Form 34C that will eventually become Form 34D. That is the certificate that will be handed over to the winner, announced by IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati. That is the man, that's the face that we want to see come through that space right there and make that all-important announcement. Kenyans have been waiting patiently since last Tuesday when they went to the polls. But of course, with all this activity, familiar faces in the political scene making their way in and out of that amphitheater, and of course, raising a lot of questions as to what could they be discussing, what could be leading to this delay with very important individuals already in the room, having waited for hours before this point. So it doesn't help in terms of this vacuum of information. It can be filled with a lot of misinformation.
That's correct. It's been hard to really, trust what you see on social media this past week, Jeff.
And also the optics coming out of the screens. You can see the optics. What does this tell your average viewer? What's going on at Bomas, folks? I'm sure that's what they're asking. Around the country and around the world, what's going on at Bomas? You see that security at that place, it's being enhanced literally by the minute. And people are wondering, what's going on? When's Chebukati going to come out? What's he going to say? It's all a question of when, if.
The 7 most important people right now are the IEBC commissioners.
Yeah.
We haven't spotted either of them.
Any of them.
Up until now. And I'm wondering who that security team there is clearing that corridor for. We've only seen one presidential candidate make their way out from there after they'd left, after they'd all stepped out. We're waiting to see whether George Ojakoya will come back in. And of course, the Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate, William Ruto. But the commissioners are the men and women of the moment. And we are waiting for them to emerge and hopefully emerge before 6 p.m. as per the promise that they made. What a week, what an election. It's been Titus and Mkangu here, even as we've continued to follow what's happening.
Wahiga na leo nadhani ni siku muhimu kwa sababu iwapo tangazo hili litafanyika leo, basi inawapa wale ambao hawajaridhishwa siku 7 za kwenda mahakamani kupinga matokeo. Kwa hivyo iwapo tangazo hili litafanyika leo, wale ambao wanapinga matokeo wana hadi Jumatatu ijayo kwenda kuwasilisha kesi mahakamani. Iwapo haitafanyika leo, itafanyika kesho, basi wana hadi Jumanne.
Okay, so this is now live from the Serena Hotel. Juliana Cherera, Justus Nyang'aya, these are IEBC commissioners, Francis Wanderi, Irene Masit, 4 of the 7 IEBC commissioners, not at the Bomas of Kenya, but at the Serena Hotel, and they're about to issue a statement. We're not sure why they're not at Bomas. It was assumed they'd all be together, but let's listen in.
Ready? Good morning. Well, good evening. As you can see, part of the commissioners are here because this is what we want to say. We have done the 2022 general election in the most effective and efficient manner. We have ensured that all the challenges have been contained, but
Yes, go ahead.
Stop. Okay. As you can see, we are part of the commissioners in the IEBC. We have conducted the 2022 general election, and we have ensured that we have improved the standards, and we have ensured that we have consistently communicated what is happening. We have partnered with all stakeholders, and we'll say it for a fact that as the Commission, we have done a good job. But some things need to be put out there. As you can see, the four of us, we are here, not at Bomas of Kenya, where the results is going to be announced, because of the opaque nature of how this phase has been handled. We therefore cannot take ownership on the results that is going to be announced. However, we have an open door that people can go to court, and because of the same, we urge Kenyans to be peaceful, because the rule of the law is going to prevail. Thank you.
Why can't you take it? What's happening?
I said because of the opaque nature of this last phase of the general election, and we are not able to take ownership of the results that will be announced. We are going to give a comprehensive statement, but this is from us, the four of us, and again, we urge Kenyans to keep calm. There is an open door that people can go to court, and the rule of law is going to prevail. Thank you.
What do you mean by people can go to court?
Some of the forms 34A have not been verified by the Azunion.
What is not happening?
Can you clarify on that?
We have said. Have you just come?
Commissioner. Yes. Commissioner.
A recap, because we are not going to take questions. Agreed. We will give a comprehensive detail of today's. I have said.
When is that likely to be?
They want a recap. There are people who missed. Yes. We are saying we have upped the standards of election in this country. We have, step by step, faced the challenges that have been there. At the same time, we have ensured that things are running despite everything else. Now, we are not at Bomas of Kenya because we cannot take ownership of the results that is going to be announced because of the opaque nature which these results have been handled. We'll give details of this opaque nature very soon.
Why are you doing this now? Why are you doing this now? Like before?
Naam.
Those are live images from the Bomas of Kenya, the National Tallying Center. We've also brought you that short press briefing by 4 commissioners at the Serena Hotel. What is emerging is a split at the IEBC with Wafula Chebukati, the chair, and 2 commissioners who had earlier on made their way to the dais there at the Bomas of Kenya, possibly to release the results. But commotion ensued there at the dais, a security situation, and the security officers there are now trying to sort out the situation. But I know, Mashirima, you're also following what was happening at the Serena Hotel, where that press briefing just took place.
Naam, bila shaka na naibu mwenyekiti wa IEBC Juliana Cherera pamoja na makamishna wengine wa IEBC Julius Nyang'aya, Francis Wanderi na Irene Masit wakiwa wanatoa hotuba hapo kwa wanahabari wakisema kwamba wamejaribu zaidi kurekebisha yale ambayo yalikuwepo katika chaguzi za awali na kwamba uchaguzi huu wameufanya kwa njia nzuri kabisa na kwamba wameweza kushirikiana na washikadau wengine na kutoka kwao wanasema kwamba wamefanya kazi nzuri, lakini Julian hapo akisema kwamba kuna masuala ambayo wanahitaji kuyasema kwamba hawawezi kujumuika na wengine pale Bomas, lakini Faisal Abdulrahman ni Faisal Ahmed ambaye yuko Serena hivi sasa anaungana nasi kwa mengi zaidi. Faisal, kama unatusikia, hebu tueleze kwa nini makamishna hao hawaja kubali maswali na la msingi wamesema nini?
Naam, asante sana Mashirima. Labda ungeweza kunikubalia niweze kuendelea kwa lugha ya Kiingereza. Now the 4 IEBC commissioners just a few minutes ago concluded a press briefing that was also very brief, less than 5 minutes, explaining that the whole process, the whole 2022 general elections were conducted in a way that they feel was actually very good and above board. However, they're saying that there was some issues with the last tallying, that is for the presidential candidates, and that they are not comfortable being part of it, and that there were some opaque things that were happening in which they do not want to be a part of. However, they've refused to take our questions, and they insist that they're going to give a more detailed press briefing after this. So we're just waiting to hear more from them, but all indications are showing that there is a dispute or discord between the IEBC commissioners, because a few moments ago 4 of them were here addressing the media on the irregularities or opaqueness or opaque nature in which the presidential tally was actually conducted with. Now, from here, we're just going to see if they're going to give us that detailed brief or if we are going to actually go somewhere else and see what's happening. But so far, that is what we have here from Serena Hotel, and we just are keeping our eyes and ears open in case anything else pops up. Mashirima.
Ahmed hapo kutoka Serena akiwa anatueleza yale ambayo yamejiri katika mkahawa huo wa Serena, akisema kwamba makamishna hao 4 wamejitenga na matangazo ambayo tulikuwa tunatarajia kutoka kwa mwenyekiti wa IEBC Wafula Chebukati ambaye ni afisa mkuu wa uchaguzi wa urais. Makamishna hao wakiwa ni naibu wa IEBC Juliana Cherera, Julius Nyang'aya, Francis Wanderi na Irene Masit.
Now, Sam and Titus, you saw the pictures coming out of Bomas. Last 6 days, it's been pretty calm and tranquil. And Waiga, you were there yourself. You saw that for yourself.
I mean, there were isolated incidents here and there, but
right.
nothing close to what was...
Nothing close to what we've just seen the last 30 minutes or so. And Chebukati had actually come down. He was on the dais, like you said, and then he disappeared back upstairs. 4 commissioners have taken off, saying they aren't going to go with the results of what they call the opaqueness of the election.
The last phase, specifically.
That's
what
she
kept emphasizing.
What's
That's right.
going on?
Jeff, To be honest, of course, without doubt, the situation has been complicated by the statement that has been read by the 4 commissioners from Serena. If they had not read the statement, probably one would say it would have been a bit easier to cascade along the legal provisions. But having come out very clearly, very unequivocally, to state that they do not wish to be associated with the results that are going to be announced at Bomas, it really complicates the situation. Remember, this is something that we have never stared before in this country. So perhaps in as much as they have said that parties that dispute to it have a right to go to court, which of course is provided for in the Constitution. But the message that is strongly sent out there is that towards the tail end, the whole process has been compromised. And compromised in the basis that at this point, I suppose Chebukati is remaining with 3 commissioners. So it's 3 commissioners.
Two commissioners.
Two commissioners against 4. And I mean, in all strings of imagination, I wouldn't want to speculate, but how does it come to a point where 4 people are disputing against 2?
Bobby?
Nikiongezea Kiingereza mani
endelea tu kwende lugha ambayo wewe mwenyewe unaridhia.
Yale mwenzangu aliyosema ni kwamba hawa wanne.
Bobby, let me interrupt you for a second. I can see there William Ruto's mother being escorted. I don't know if it's to the days or outside. Of course, she's been here as all this has been happening, and we certainly hope the authorities here will quickly restore peace and calm to this auditorium. It's very crucial because the declaration of the president-elect will be made here. So I think she's being escorted out.
Yeah, looks like out.
Probably the state of security there is not one that can be guaranteed, but it is very unfortunate what has transpired here. And I don't know to both my guests here whether the Constitution envisioned a situation where there's a split in the commission. I know 2017 wasn't easy either. You remember Rosalind Akombe, the then commissioner, left just before the fresh election on the 18th of October 2017. And thereafter, you know, there were a lot of questions about how the commission had been running, whether they'd been united as they moved forward, but somehow they were able to soldier and weather whatever storm they went through and give Kenyans a decision. But this time round, it seems that that will not be the case. What does the Constitution say about a split in the IEBC, if that was ever a discussion, Bobby?
I wanted to give that dynamic in terms of the optics, that the 4 commissioners, if I'm not wrong, are the newly appointed commissioners, the ones who came into office
September 2021, I believe?
Last year.
Yeah.
And so we were probably seeing that institutional, split. But we, in terms of the constitutionality and legality of what was intended today, we have to remember that, yes, the commission comprises, constitutionally of the chairperson and the commissioners. So there is the sense that the chairperson is an institution unto itself. And that's why when you look at Article 138(10) and why the chairperson is the national returning officer of the presidential election, it does give that onus on the chairperson. It doesn't say it is the commission that announces.
That's put the onus
on the chairperson of the commission to declare the election, within 7 days after the presidential election. So as long as the chairperson does eventually give that announcement, then we move to the next step. But as he said, it definitely compromises the legitimacy of that announcement that the chairperson will give. However...
Just hold that thought if you want for a moment, because we've got our own Francis Gashuri on the floor of the Bomas of Kenya right now, the Nerve Center. Francis Gashuri, if you can hear us, what is going on?
Check, mic check, mic check.
Mic check is fine, Gashuri. You can go on. What's going on? You're talking to the studio. Gashuri, if you can hear us.
Jeff, I can hear you. Good afternoon. Doesn't look like a very good one here at the Bomas of Kenya. What started as a very patriotic event, escalating into scenes of violence. And this began with a news conference outside the Bomas of Kenya, where the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate's chief agent in the presidential race, Saitabao Ole Kanchori, addressed the news conference and said that they were dissatisfied with the process, together with the other agents from the Azimio team, claiming that they had not been given access to the Form 34C. This is the form that tabulates all the presidential election results in the August 9th, 2022 presidential race. And as soon as Wafula Chebukati, the IEBC chairman, made his way to the auditorium to make a declaration of the presidential election results, violence broke out. At the main podium, we could see Narok Senator-elect Ledama Ole Kina, together with Saitabao Ole Kanchori and other Azimio leaders who are expressing their dissatisfaction with the results that Wafula Chebukati, the IEBC chairman, was just about to announce insofar as the presidential election results is concerned. And so some pandemonium broke out. There were people who went to the main podium, tried to rough up the IEBC chairman. Some of the seats there were thrown away. The podium from which the IEBC chairman was to make the declaration was also roughed up, but eventually it has been reconstructed, and security now intensified. Even members of the family of the deputy president who are seated here at the auditorium, including his mother and the children, have been evacuated from the building to a safe space where the deputy president also was at the lounge where he was waiting together with other presidential candidates in the August 9th race, George Wajakoya of the Roots Party, and Agano Party is Wahiga Mwaure. Now, the question that remains to be responded to, Wahiga, Jeff, at this point is whether the results will be announced or not. We understand that the IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati, is still within the precincts of the Bomas of Kenya, and security arrangements being made. We can see the religious leaders, among them Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit of the Anglican Church of Kenya, Archbishop Martin Kivuva Musonde of the Catholic Archdiocese of Mombasa, together with other members of the Interreligious Council, have made their way back to the auditorium. Security now intensified under the leadership of Nur Gabo. Nur Gabo is the Deputy Inspector General of Police, together with other senior police officers. A contingent of General Service Unit officers came in and restored calm. What we now wait to see is whether IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati will come back here and make the declaration insofar as the presidential election result is concerned. Remember, Jeff, also 4 commissioners of IEBC, Vice Chair Juliana Huonge Cherera, Commissioner Francis Wanderi, Commissioner Irene Cherop Masit, Justice Nyaya, went and addressed the conference in a hotel where the disputed results that are just about to be declared by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati, claiming that the process of valid verification here at the Bomas of Kenya was opaque and would not be part of the results that are just about to be announced. So tense moments here, Jeff. The choir, the NHIF choir, together with the Muungano choir, continues to belt a patriotic song, maybe to pacify the situation and that has been building here as we wait for the next way forward insofar as the declaration of the presidential election results is concerned. Jeff, back to you.
You know what, Gashuri, we actually did get that presser live from Julia Cherera and the other commissioners saying that they will not take ownership of the results that are about to be announced by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati. Well, you're looking at pictures right there. It looks like the religious leaders have returned, guys. It looks like Chebukati might be making his way back. He might still make that announcement that he said he would make this afternoon. What do you guys think?
Well, one good sign, hopefully, is I'm hoping there's no injuries. Some of the scenes we saw there earlier, simply horrifying, and I hope the authorities can quickly find out sort of who was involved in this. It's very unnecessary. I think we have shown as a country that there are ways to resolve disputes. We have courts that are on standby, and I think the Chief Justice had even given orders on the same. But it seems like there's a movement now, Jeff, okay?
Yep.
Deputy President, Moses Wetangula, Mike Sonko, and others have now made their way in. I already said I've seen the Deputy President, William Ruto, leading that team there to take his position there. I think someone in the gallery didn't quite hear me a bit earlier on. And of course, the Kenya Kwanza UDA candidate. I guess, Jeff, we are now waiting for the 3 commissioners.
That's right.
Because they are the only ones. And it's only Wafula, actually. Article 138, subsection 10, right? Stipulates the chairperson of the IEBC shall announce the president-elect. And he's the national returning officer and the presidential returning officer as well. So as much as there are 7 commissioners, the task of reading the name of the president-elect is up to Wafula Chebukati as envisioned in the law.
It looks like everyone's standing right now, which is a sign, guys. It's a sign. Let's listen in. Let's listen in.
Amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi. Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
One. 1 2 2 2 2 2 check 1 2 check 1 2 1 2 microphone checking check 1 2 check 1 2 check 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 1 2 singike kwa house please so
Tunatarajia muda mfupi kutoka sasa kwamba mwenyekiti wa IEBC Wafula Chebukati atafika hapo kwenye jukwaa ili kutangaza mshindi wa uchaguzi wa urais, jukumu ambalo ni lake kama afisa mkuu wa uchaguzi wa urais katika eneo hilo la Bomas. Mbali na yale ambayo tumeshuhudia awali, zile rabsha zilizokuwa katika ukumbi huo wa Bomas, na kwa upande mwingine makamishna wanne wa IEBC wakijitenga na lile ambalo wanasema ni tangazo litakalotolewa Bomas. Tunaona kwamba maafisa wa usalama wamerejesha hali ya utulivu katika ukumbi huo, mama mzazi wa naibu rais William Ruto akiondolewa katika ukumbi huo, lakini tayari tunaona pia viongozi wa dini wakiwa wamekaa hapo kwenye jukwaa pamoja na naibu wa rais William Ruto, mke wake Rachel na mgombea mwenza wake ambaye alikuwa mbunge wa Mathera Rigathi Gachagua.
And as you can see there, the hall restored to order, thankfully, to the action of the authorities. There we can see the IEBC chair, Wafula Chebukati, making his way to the dais as we await him to make the declaration of the winner of the 2022 general election presidential race. He, of course, is the national returning officer, the presidential returning officer, and he will make public the contents of the Form 34C, which will then become the Form 34D that he'll hand over to the winner once he announces. And of course, there, Deputy President William Ruto, the UDA presidential candidate, who is also joined by his wife, Rachel Ruto. Let's listen in now.
This is the moment Kenya has been waiting for. The nation has been anxious, but we want to urge all Kenyans, let us now put our anxiety aside. The Bible says the end of a matter is better than the beginning. We want to urge the country to remain united. We have families to look after, an economy to grow, children who will go back to school. We want our nation back. Let us all pray together. Heavenly Father, here we stand before you as a nation of Kenya. We have always seen your hand of mercy, looking after us, watching after us. Even when we push ourselves to the brink, you always know how to lift us up. Lord, we want to ask you that you'll guide the nation of Kenya today as we are going to hear the announcement of the process that has always been on. And Lord, when we hear the outcome, our prayer is that you'll keep this nation united. You'll make us find our being and love one another and care for each other, for we all belong together. None of us is going to go anywhere. We will remain to support each other and grow this country. We commit, oh God, all those who have been leading us to you in their various formation, that you will bless them. And as the election has come to a conclusion, we know there are those who have lost. Lord, we ask that you will help them as they come to terms. And even those who have won, Lord, help them to be magnanimous in their winning and embrace everybody. For they have been given an opportunity to lead those who voted for them and those who did not vote for them. So, Lord, bind us together with cords of love that cannot be broken. Enable us, oh God, to emerge out of this, shake off our dust, and march on and build this great nation. Lord, for the exercise ahead of us, we commit the chair and the commissioners before you, and all of us gathered in this room, that your will prevails, your presence overwhelms us, and this nation, oh God, will not go to the drain because you reign. This is our prayer in the name of God the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Good evening. We have walked the journey of ensuring that Kenyans get a free, fair, and credible election. It's not been an easy journey. Right now, 2 of my commissioners and the CEO are injured. And of course, they are being treated. We have staff who have been profiled. There's a staff returning officer in Bakassi West who disappeared while on duty. We have staff who have been arbitrarily arrested for no reasons. We don't know where they are. Some from this National Tallying Center. But we have a constitutional duty to perform. And that's why I stand before you today, despite intimidation, harassment, I took an oath of office to serve this country. And I've done my duty in accordance with the Constitution and the laws of the land. And I feel proud that I've been given this opportunity to serve Kenyans. This, of course, will be my last election to preside over. And for those who will come, we have prepared for you what the Constitution envisaged from us, an independent electoral commission. So I just want to thank the staff of IEBC, the soldiers who braved insults, harassment, and delivered right from the constituencies to the counties and up to the National Tallying Center. I want to thank stakeholders, state and non-state stakeholders who have worked with us on this journey, and more particularly the members of the diplomatic community and the religious leaders who have been keeping vigil at this center for the last 3 days. They have been here throughout, 24 hours a day. So Kenyans came out and voted on the 9th of August, and these are the results of what the will of the Kenyan people reflects. These results are in the public portal. The same results which I'm reading here are the ones in the public portal. So there were 4 presidential candidates, These are the aggregated results. Odinga Raila, total valid votes, 6,942,930. And this represents 48.85% of the votes garnered, and he achieved a number of counties the candidate attained with at least 25% of the total valid votes cast is 34 counties. Ruto William Samoei, number of valid votes, 7 million. Thank you. 7,176,141. This represents 50.49%. And he achieved the minimum number of 39 counties at 25%. Waihika David Maure, number of valid votes in figures 31,987. That represents 0.23%. Number of counties with a minimum of 25%, 0. Washakoya George Luchiri, 61,969. Those are valid votes. Percentage of votes cast 0.44%, and number of counties with a minimum of 25% attained, 0. So, in accordance with the law, the Constitution and the law, I, Wafula Chebukati, Chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, hereby declares that Ruto William Samoei of ID number 6847208 has been duly elected as the President of the Republic of Kenya under the provisions of Article 138 of the Constitution in the presidential election held on 9th of day of August 2022. And I'll proceed to sign the certificate. I invite the President-elect to come forward and receive his certificate.
Habari njema kwa Wakenya wote, tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka isiyoegemea upande wowote, inayodumisha demokrasi Kenya. Kura yako ni siku zako za usoni, chagua uongozi utajivunia. IEBC, jihusishe na upige kura. IEBC, yako. Chagua uongozi ulio bora, iwe mwananchi mzalendo. Nisome huru.
And of course, the president-elect had a running mate. Rigathi Gachagua is the deputy president-elect. Thank you. I invite the president-elect to make his remarks. And thank you, Kenyans, for having a peaceful election. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, and High Commissioners present, Your Lordships, the Bishops, and members of the clergy in the Republic of Kenya, my good Deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, distinguished members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, led by Chairman Wafula Chebukati, fellow countrymen and women, good evening. It is a wonderful evening, and I want to thank God that we are here this evening to witness this momentous occasion as the people of Kenya restate what is in Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya, that all sovereign power belong to the people of Kenya. I want to thank God for getting us to this point. I want to thank God that today we have concluded this election. I know that there were predictions that I won't get to the ballot. There were predictions that we won't get here. But because there is a God in heaven, we are here. And I want to, in a very special way, say and confess that without God, we wouldn't have been here. My gratitude also goes to the people of Kenya, the millions who listened to us, the millions who participated in our campaigns peacefully, the millions who turned up to vote for us on 9th of August, and the millions who have waited patiently until this announcement has been made. Specifically, I want to thank my fellow countrymen and women because we have raised the bar in this election. Jointly, we have raised the bar. This election was much about the issues than the ethnic configurations that have always informed our elections. Gratitude goes to the millions of Kenyans who refused to be boxed into tribal cocoons. I am a very proud Kenyan this evening that the people of Kenya have raised the bar on us who are seeking leadership in our country. not to sell our ethnicities, but to sell our programs, our manifestos, our agenda, and our plan. Let me also say right at the start that in here and in this election, there are no losers. The people of Kenya have won because we have raised the political bar. I want to say that the people of Kenya, led by the 14 million who turned up to vote, are the biggest winners. The hero of this election is the IEBC, led by Wafula Chebukati. I say this with conviction that the IEBC amazed all of us. With the results in the public portal, all the servers were open. And everybody, all you needed is a simple calculator, and you would have the results. I want to congratulate the IEBC for raising the bar. And I want to say, without fear of any contradiction, that one Wafula Chebukati is our hero. Soft-spoken, but firm. And I want to tell you, Mr. Chairman, we are very proud that without informing any one of us, you put all the results from all the polling stations on a public portal where any Kenyan could access. That became the game changer in this election. Let me also, at this point in time, thank our partners, the religious leaders, who were part of this process right from the beginning. For the first time, we saw religious leaders spend time at this Starling Center and prayed for this process. I am sure their prayers will not be in vain. I also want to thank our development partners, our diplomatic community, and all the observers who came in their thousands to be part and parcel of the process right from almost 2 weeks ago to its conclusion in this auditorium. To all of them, I tell them the people of Kenya are eternally grateful that you took your time, valuable time, to watch over this process so that the right thing can happen. I want to thank my worthy competitor, the Honorable Raila Odinga, for a campaign that we all dwelled on issues and we tried to sell an agenda to the people of Kenya. I want to promise that I will work with all elected leaders and all leaders in Kenya so that we can fashion a country that leaves nobody behind. What the people of Kenya have done they have assigned us responsibilities. There will be those of us who will be in the executive, but there will be those of us who will oversee what we do in the executive. Both responsibilities in government and in the opposition are important for the people of Kenya. I want to promise the people of Kenya that I will run a transparent, open, democratic government. And I will work with the opposition to the extent that they provide oversight over my administration. Let me also, at this point in time, acknowledge my boss, the President of the Republic of Kenya. His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, who has worked with me over the last 10 years in various forms. And I want to commit to the people of Kenya that I will build on the foundation that President Kenyatta and I put together and take this country to the next level. I want to promise all the people of Kenya, whichever way they voted, that this will be their government. I know many are wondering, especially those who have done many things against us. I want to tell them that they have nothing to fear. There is no room. There is nothing. There is no room for vengeance. There is no room for looking back. We are looking into the future. I am acutely aware that our country is at a stage where we need all hands on deck to move it forward. We do not have the luxury to look back. We do not have the luxury to point fingers. We do not have the luxury to apportion blame. We must close ranks and work together for a functioning, democratic, prosperous Kenya. I want to thank the members of my team, starting with my wife and family. And many other prayer warriors in Kenya. And I want to confess that I have been prayed into victory. It is not our effort. And my team knows. We were working against the odds, many odds at that, but I must confess that it is God who brought us this victory. I do not want to mention the many people, many friends who have been part and parcel of this journey. Many people have paid huge sacrifices for us to get here. I want to promise them that their sacrifice will not be in vain. I and my team and I will work very hard to make sure that we don't let the sacrifices made by many Kenyans, we don't let them down. I am very confident that this country will come together and we can move forward as one united, democratic, and prosperous country. I want to ask our religious leaders from across Kenya to pray for us and to pray for the unity and prosperity of our country. I will not want to say more than that because I will be making other statements in the course of time. But let me say to all of you, thank you very much for being here this evening to witness this very historic, democratic occasion that moves our country to the next level. And let me thank my very able deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, for the sacrifice and the commitment he has demonstrated and the hard work he has put in, together with all our teams, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Otangula, JB Muturi, Mr. Mutua, Amazon Kingi, and all. Let me not go down that route because I will disappoint some people because that list is very long, especially the men and women, members of parliament who were elected with us in Jubilee. And they have paid a heavy price for us to get here. Ladies and gentlemen, waheshimiwa, let me say, I owe you. You are great people. The sacrifices you made, withstanding the many incidences of blackmail and threats, I want to tell you, you have earned your place in the history of Kenya, because today we're going to form a government together to serve the people of Kenya. So with those many remarks, let me say to all the people of Kenya, I give you my word that I will work hard to make sure that this nation moves to the next level, is united and is prosperous. Asanteni sana.
Shangilia Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda, Kenya nchi tunayoipenda, Kenya nchi tunayoipenda. Na ukipenda Kenya, ujitengane na mambo yenye kuvunja amani. Hatutaki matata Kenya, hatutaki matata Kenya. Anayependa Kenya ni yule mwenye kutenda haki kwa watu wote. Mtu mwenye kutenda haki, mtu mwenye kutenda haki. Kenya makao yetu ni nchi ya kupendeza, kamwe hatutaiacha.